I think life is more spontaneous and more effortless, more creative, and one of peace, harmony, laughter, and love.
There's this great part of the book that I love, that Buddha is, before Buddha went on the fast, when he became a wandering monk, he sort of found these other wandering monk friends, and when he started to go on this fast, and they thought, this guy's going to die, and they just couldn't do it, so they all left. And then when he had his awakening experience, he decided that he should go back and find these guys, because he was sort of like the one that was leading them, and he realized that he had some misperceptions, and he wanted to help share with them what he felt was the right thinking, right perception. So this is what he says. He says, "It wasn't difficult. Once I admitted to myself that I would never become completely good or free from sin, something changed inside. I was no longer distracted by the war. My attention could go somewhere else. It went beyond my body, and I saw who I really am. I'm not a warrior. I'm not a prisoner of desire. Those things come and go. I asked myself, who is watching the war? Who do I return to when pain is over, or when pleasure is over? Who is content simply to be?" And he says to this other monk, "You too have felt the peace of simply being. Wake up to that, and you'll join me in being free." Because before that, they were trying to have a war over the body.
Overcome themselves.
Exactly, overthinking. So there's a sense of trying to be perfect and trying to be always right and always good. And he said it wasn't until he gave that up, that actually, and to look at, well, who is this one who's trying to do that, which is this practice of asking, who am I? So I thought that was pretty cool. So the next thing that Deepak says in the interview, he talks about what happens if you meet Jesus or Buddha on the road.
Ooh, that's funny. Yeah.
So are there some things that people should watch out for on the path to awakening that, well, like the people that think, if they've met the gods, then they're awakened, or...
If you meet the gods, it's your imagination. Come back.
Anything that...
Come back to your stillness.
So it should be
If you meet Jesus Christ or Buddha himself, come back.
Okay.
Okay, so what does he mean by if you meet Jesus or Buddha on the path, come back?
Did you ever hear the saying? I've heard it, like, if you meet the Buddha, kill him. Did you ever hear that before?
I never heard that.
There is a saying that says that. And it's a pretty much of a huge thing to say.
This is for Buddhists to say, who are like passive? To kill them?
Well, the whole idea is that eventually in a state of awakening, we awake to the realization that we're one with everything. And it's really great. I mean, the people are having experiences of, spiritual experiences, and they're communing with Buddha or angelic beings. I mean, that's a great experience if we're going to have experiences while we're on the earth plane. But if we're looking for the ultimate truth of reality, the ultimate truth of reality is where everything is just one. And there's no somebody outside or something outside of ourselves or something that's different than ourselves to look to for answers. We just, awakening was, we just become everything. So it's if you're looking for the ultimate truth, it's letting go of any outside form or object other than the realization that we are one with everything.
So it's sort of like turning inward?
It's turning inward.
So, because it kind of, you were saying about the right thinking, the right
view,
and you said right each time,
right.
And you don't ask somebody else what right is, right? Or do you find
right.
out what right and wrong is?
Right, and in some part of our lives, we do look for outside training. Someone, and we do have teachers and our parents and scriptures and things like that. But eventually, we have to look for what is it our own impulse is moving us towards, and we do want to have verification that, the ancient scriptures talk about, okay, well, we still want to have be involved in a civilization where things are working together. It's not like we look as ourselves as the source and we don't listen to what anybody else says, and then we're on our own little rampage. But ultimately, we each have a truth that we have to follow, and it's not always in line with what someone else believes, and that's what we have to follow. We awaken to that. We awaken to what we are truly, and it doesn't always fit into what someone else thinks it should be.
Well, and if we think we're part of the whole should be working together. So
Exactly.
if you're following one trail and nobody else is going down that trail,
Right.
you're probably going the wrong way.
Right. Right. Okay. So the last part of the interview that we're going to go to is when I asked Deepak what it is that he feels is really important for everyone to know.
And is there anything else that you would like to say as far as what you feel is most important for people to know in these days?
Well, I think for people to know is that their own consciousness is a possibility. It's the source of everything we call reality, whether it is our own physical body or our biology. There's nothing that is not available to us through our consciousness. It's a field of possibility waves. It's also infinitely correlated, where everything is inseparably synchronized with everything else. It's also a place of uncertainty, so one has to surrender to ambiguity and uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a place of infinite creativity. And consciousness is also the observer. It's human consciousness, sentient beings that convert the quantum soup into what we call color, form, taste, smell, and everything that we call physical reality. So that's important for people to know that they are creators.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Okay, so what does he mean we are a field of possibilities?
Well, there's a certain space in one can see in meditation or in the awakened state where you just recognize that everything is just happening, right? So we see everything just is. But when we see everything that is, we also see that there's sort of this field, and that everything arises from, and the possibility of the numerous possibilities that can happen from that space. And he's saying that when we recognize that, we could also recognize that if we are that, then there's some way that we can move with that space and create from that space, because we are that space. Right now we see ourselves separate from that space, and we think everything's happening to us. He's saying there's some way that we could sort of co-create in that space, and that there's infinite possibilities.
Okay, so then what does he mean by surrendering to uncertainty?
Well, I think we talked about this a little bit, in the sense that in this space we don't really know what the bigger picture is, and
So that's the mystery that we talked about earlier.
yeah, right. And it's sort of surrendering to the mystery. We're not necessarily always living from we're not in the awakened state. We're not living from a place where we always know what's going to happen. So it's surrendering, and it's the mind that wants to know. So it's surrendering to that, and just and allowing that to just be as it is.
Well, it makes me think about my agnosticism, and the way I believe is that things are not, or the notion of God is not knowable, is what my idea is. And part of that is the mystery, and I think you're embracing that mystery, that all things are not knowable. I mean, we know probably a very minuscule percentage of what's knowable, and so out there is this whole area that we could go and discover.
Right. Some people that awaken say that when we're in a full state of awakening, we don't know anything anymore.
Right.
There's nothing. I mean, because we think we know things,
Absolutely.
but we don't. I mean, you hear
Well, if
this,
you look at in the past, the things that people really, really believed in turned out not to be true.
like
so
the world was flat,
the
right?
world was flat. So the things that we really, really believe in right now could turn out not to be true.
Right.